Today we are talking about growth factors in skincare. What are they? Why do you need them? How do they affect the skin? Stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back. Christine Byer here, licensed esthetician for 21 years, and I have seen growth factors, I wouldn't say explode, not like peptides, but I have seen them hit the scene and do nothing but grow in popularity. I think it's funny. My first experience with epidermal growth factor was in a $160 eye cream back when I first got into skincare. I first became an esthetician. I think I was late. I was 30 when I got my license, so it's like late 20s, early 30s. I was living in Miami Beach, and I had lots of crow's feet, or so I thought. Fast forward 30 years, there's more to come. But I remember getting this eye cream and just being blown away by its effects. Like my crow's feet disappeared, and you know, it's easier to get a 29-year-old's 30, 31, however, I cannot remember how old I was. That age, it's easier to get your crow's feet to disappear than it is a 53-year-old. So I remember just being blown away. I mean, it was a solid product. And EGF, epidermal growth factor, it was discovered in the 50s, and then it won a Nobel Peace Prize, I think in '86. It was used on burn victims in the very beginning, epidermal growth factor. And then Dr. Gregory Brown, I believe, from Revive, he was the one that made that $160 eye cream that blew me away. And so I knew they were onto something big, right? And then after that, I remember copper peptides came around and sort of stole the show, and then it was vitamin C. And it's funny to see how the waves come in skincare. It's always these trends, right? So growth factors in skincare, they have done nothing but grow in popularity. Why? Because they work. And I get a lot of questions like, well, what is the difference between stem cells and growth factors and peptides? Because peptides are everywhere, right? Neutrogena has peptides in it. I mean, they're everywhere. And they had their little scene too when I first got into skincare. They blew onto the scene. I think I'd been in skincare for about 5 years at the time. Basically, growth factors are bigger than peptides. Like they have a longer chain of amino acids, and they're sort of a bigger part of the story, right? And then stem cells release growth factors and peptides, right? So that is the difference. Stem cells start it all, although growth factors can signal stem cells. So it gets into this giant soupy mix that can be very confusing. But basically how growth factors work is that they affect the very top of the skin. They send cellular messages through the epidermis to activate growth factors within the deeper skin. So it's really fascinating how it works. So growth factors are naturally present in the body, right? We make them on a regular basis. They help us clean up inflammation. They help with cellular turnover. They even can help with pigmentation. So they are naturally occurring. It's just that, as with anything, as we age, the growth factors that our body produces become less, and the signals get a little bit convoluted. So growth factors are everywhere, and they have found that growth factors from epidermal or from the skin tend to work better than growth factors produced from fat or bone. They tend to work better if they're made from the skin. I think another thing that they do on a regular basis is they replenish those signals that younger skin can make very easily, you know, like slough off dead skin cells, produce collagen, produce elastin, reduce inflammation. The lines that I carry tend to be growth factor heavy, and I like to use technologies that sort of blend together seamlessly but are not exactly the same. And so the reason I love this line, formerly SculPLLA, now it's House of PLLA or HOP, this is a Korean brand. It came out about 5 years ago, and they keep putting more and more of the growth factors in it. Everything in the Scupla line has 4GF, 4 different growth factors in it, and polylactic acid, which is a manufactured stem cell that sends out, it's also found in dissolvable sutures, and it sends out a message, produce collagen 24/7, because it will go into the skin, wrap around the hair follicle, and stay there. So once everything else is worn off, the growth factors and everything's been used up, it has another aspect to it that helps it keep on going into the skin. So it's like the skincare that keeps on going. But all of these Scupla products, or these House of PLLA products, have 4 different growth factors in them. And that's why I love them so much, because they're very healing or reparative to the skin. If you think about a peptide, and like I said, peptides are everywhere. They're in every product, and they are short chains of amino acids that send out messages, right? And so you think about what growth factors are, and they're sort of a more complete message. Rejuvenate skin, reduce inflammation. They're more of they're bigger chains of amino acids with bigger messages, right? And it's interesting, there's always been this debate on whether or not they can absorb into the skin, but what the studies have found is that they actually sit on top of the skin. It interacts with the epidermis, and then the epidermis sends a message up to produce more collagen or to produce more elastin. It sends messages to the fibroblast cells. It's fascinating how it works, but it does work. So that's why they've grown in popularity over the years. So what can you expect when you use SculPLLA products? You can expect help for dry skin, help for lackluster skin. You're going to get a brilliance and a brightness and a glow, hydration, extra. You're going to get cellular turnover. You're going to get less lines and wrinkles. You're going to get refined pores, lighter pigmentation. I mean, these guys work overtime in your skincare. If you got crepey skin, it helps work on crepey skin texture. It just does so much. Did you know that some growth factors even fight bacteria production or acne in the skin? So let me show you how this works. This is their stem cell mist. And I like to put a little bit of this on, sort of prime the skin. And then I'll put on their Cavi, which is a caviar-based serum. Also has the polylactic acid and growth factors. And then I'm going to put some of this on here. This is their promoter cell repair. This dries down to a more matte finish, not matte, but natural. And I love putting it on after the Cavi. I'll use like a little less Cavi and a little less of this. This is the promoter repair cell cream. So if you don't have growth factors in the skincare that you're using, I would suggest adding them, because they really do work, and they tend to be more expensive because they're sort of harder to stabilize and more expensive to make, and etc., but they're worth every penny. Just like I saw in that eye cream from years and years ago. Gosh, I was just so gobsmacked by how it just got rid of my fine lines or my crow's feet, lickety split. So they've done nothing but improve this technology as the years have gone by, and it's really good stuff. So if you've covered the basics, where you've got a vitamin A, you've got vitamin C in your skincare routine, and you've got sunscreen, your next step could be with growth factors, because they really amp up your results. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Bye now.